Hello and welcome to this presentation on telephony and Autoline integration, computer telephony integration. I'm Jeff Booth, Pre-Sales Manager. Most of your customer interaction happens over the phone. Shouldn't your telephone process be 100% efficient? How do you know how often calls are missed in your dealership? How do you know who the missed calls are? If missed calls were forgotten about, how would you know? And if you're not sure, how can you improve your call handling to find out? Well, clearly in a dealership, phone calls matter. In fact, they're often the first contact a customer has with your dealership, and every single one is a potential sales opportunity. Poor call handling will have a big impact on both customer satisfaction levels and, of course, departmental revenue. This means your team members need to offer a first-class customer service to make the most out of every call. Integrated telephony from CDK Global is designed to deliver two things: a slick personalised experience for your customers and, of course, more revenue for yourselves. Integrated telephony turns your phone into a computer-aided sales and customer service machine. It seamlessly links the phone system with your DMS customer database, so your staff can manage customer calls with that great blend of knowledge, speed, and friendly efficiency. Ultimately, we want to be able to provide a 5-star customer service and make every call as effective as possible. One of the prime ways we do this is through the use of the CTI toolbar. The toolbar basically is the glue between the Autoline dealer management system, your PC, and the telephony system. So it communicates directly with the telephone system, receiving information about activity at a telephone, like the caller's number, the number dialed, etc. And this information is passed on to Autoline. Autoline takes the caller's number and attempts to match it to a CRM record. Now the CRM record, yes, of course, we're using CRM, central to the system, but we're also using point of sale, whip screens, a call record in contact management, so call center functionality is also covered. There are also other functionality areas that are covered by this integration, such as sales ledger display, purchase ledger display, and purchase order control. Also will screen pop and click to dial. The toolbar sends instructions to the telephone system to make the telephone number and click to dial. So the CTI toolbar basically sits all the time at the top of the screen and offers you functionality such as chats, instant messaging, so you can talk to other people logged into the telephone system. A presence feature shows you all of the users who are available, department by department, whether they're at a desk, available to take a call, or away. Call control allows you to control the phone from the one screen. Click to dial from a directory, from presence, from web pages, and much more. We'll see some of this as we go through today's presentation. Speed dial from personal directory of favourites, plus of course call records and logs. And probably most importantly of all is our missed call notification. So if you leave for a break or go away for your lunch hour, as you return to your workstation, you'll receive messages about missed calls. So you'll be able to see who they are, how many times they're called to try, whether somebody else has even tried to speak to them. So it's an essential tool for managing your customer's contact. In addition, all the calls are recorded, so we can offer call recording. This happens seamlessly in the background, so every single call will be recorded without the user actually having to do anything or click anything. It happens automatically in the background. This, of course, will help us identify training needs, will help us maximise upselling opportunities, as well as protecting both your staff and, of course, your customers. Finally, Call Intelligence gives you a fully integrated reporting suite with full details of the call activity in your dealerships. So you can highlight any trends, are there any gaps, and encourage and improve the customer experience within your business. The CTI toolbar. Once Telephony is integrated and installed, the toolbar will always be at the top of the screen. So you'll have this displayed at the top of the screen, and this is the glue between the PC and the telephony system. So this is showing us the key information such as which call queue do we belong to, our speed dials, recently dialed numbers and directory search just available from a drop down, a click to dial button, caller information, call control buttons, so we can answer calls, close calls, put calls on hold, forward and divert calls directly from the toolbar. A directory of all our numbers, there's our status change button, and there displayed all the time is our status. Are we here? Are we active? And sometimes those statuses will automatically update, so should we be inactive for a period of time, then other users will be able to see that. And of course we then have presence, so presence will give us a full list of all users and whether they are active and available. So even from, let's say, a reception point of view, if we need to divert a call to somebody in after sales, we'll be able to see who's there and who's available to take the call. So by connecting the toolbar to Autoline, the telephone can then be controlled from the desktop. Certain functions then become active in Autoline, so the red buttons, for example, that you've probably seen before in various Autoline screens, point of sale, CRM, etc., suddenly become active. So instead of just a reference on the screen, these are now alive. So a number in a field can be dialed by a single click on the icon. Okay, let's give you some practical day-to-day use of how this would appear in a live working system. First of all, in CRM. So if we have a user just sitting in their normal CRM screen, and clearly this could be the starting point for a number of people in the dealership. Could be parts front counter, it could be service advisor, we could be vehicle salesman, really anybody who's customer facing could start with this CRM desktop. With telephony loaded, we have a couple of additional buttons that appear on our icon bar. Auto lookup caller is the default. We also have show caller. So with auto lookup caller enabled, when the phone rings, the caller's CRM record is automatically displayed before the call's answered. So it will do an instant match across the CRM database, and if it can find a unique reference number for that caller, it will display that record straight onto the screen. So before we answer the phone, we have the customer's summarized CRM details displayed for us. So we can see the customer, we can see the customer's contacts, what vehicle they have, and anything that's work in progress with that customer. So before we actually click the button to answer the phone, we have a fully detailed helicopter view of what's going on with this customer record. So that's going to help us improve our customer experience. Let's say though that we are busy. We actually don't want the screen to pop because we're busy talking to a customer. If we untick the auto display customer, we can have a manual show caller. So effectively we'll get a pop-up at the bottom of the screen that will tell me that a customer is phoning, so I can see who the customer is and what the customer's telephone number is, and I can take an active decision as to whether I want to hit that button to show caller. So with one, it will happen automatically. With the second, we can take a manual decision whether we want to show that customer's CRM record. And that, of course, will launch the full record onto the screen. So those are the screen popping icons. So with the customer record displayed on the screen, we have all of that relevant information to handle a customer in a really professional way. The other function with telephony is, of course, click to dial. And this is one of the areas where the red telephones suddenly now become active. So maybe in this example, I'm a service advisor who needs to contact a customer for authorization on some work that we found on their vehicle while it's in for a service. So without leaving my CRM record, I have access into all the point of sale details, and a single click will connect me to my customer. These icons, of course, match what is in the customer CRM record. So if one of the numbers is protected, it will have a no entry sign to encourage me not to use that number. So only the alive red icons will allow me to click to dial to the customer on that record. So again, improving the customer service. Click to dial is not just available from within the customer's CRM record. It's available from my whips and my inquiries, which gives the user the ability to just right click on any record and then dial the customer directly. So being practical, if I'm a service advisor, maybe I have a customer who was due in at 9 o'clock this morning. 9:05, I notice the customer is not yet arrived in our business. So again, without leaving the screen, right click, one single click, and I will actually be engaging with that customer. Okay, point of sale. Point of sale is another key area for telephony integration. Within CRM, fairly simply, when a customer calls, we need to know who that customer is and what's going on. Within point of sale, of course, we could have a number of scenarios. Customer could be phoning in to book in for a service, so there's no whip open. A customer could already have a whip open, so we need to go straight to that whip to go straight to the customer. Or it could be a completely new customer contacting us for the first time. All of these scenarios are covered by telephony integration. So sitting within point of sale and within a whip, once a customer calls, the incoming call box will pop over the top of the whip screen. So first of all, in the caller box, the caller number and name will be displayed. So if we can identify that unique record, that's where our caller is displayed. Should we have multiple records associated with the same number, then they all will be displayed in this box, so we can make a manual selection of which record we want to load. The load orders screen will load the caller's whip if there is one already open. It will create a whip if there's not one currently open for this caller, or if I'm already in a whip, it will save the current open whip and load the caller's whip automatically. The three buttons at the bottom are fairly self-explanatory. Click to answer, click to divert. So if I'm too busy to take the call, but it's pointed at me, I can then send the call away to a predefined destination. They're configured at user level, so you can build these queues. And of course, hanging up cuts the call off. So practically, first scenario, so the user has a blank whip on screen, and we're going to create a whip for an inbound caller. So just sitting in a blank whip, the phone rings and the customer's identified. There's no whip found, so the customer list matching that caller's number is displayed. So I literally select OK, and that will create me a whip populated with the customer and the vehicle details. Okay, so no extensive customer searches, really quick, slick and easy, so we can go straight into booking out whatever it is that the customer needs. This is also really useful, not just, of course, for service. If we have, for example, a parts wholesaling operation, where customers are phoning their orders into us early in the morning for van route deliveries, we can have the whips already open for these trade customers, so that as they phone, it automatically loads the whip for that customer. So the operator just literally starts booking out parts into the open whip. So quick, simple, and very efficient. Okay, let's say we have a situation though where we have multiple screens open. Maybe I'm dealing with several different point of sale screens, or maybe 2 or 3 customers at the same time. When we have that kind of scenario, we can disable the auto pop-up and actually make a manual selection. Okay, so we bring to the foreground the whip that we wish to pop, and then we click the caller pop-up, which will appear after pressing that show caller button. So we're making a manual selection of which point of sale company or which whip we want the pop to appear in, and just simply click the red button and we're away. That show caller button can be used at any time during the call to kickstart that process. And the final example from point of sale, if it's an unknown caller. So sitting in a whip, an unknown caller calls into Service Advisor. So we're in a blank whip and we have the telephony pop-up. It's giving us the number, but it's actually saying, as you can see from the screen, that there is unknown. There is no record associated with this user. So we know the number, but we know there is no record in the CRM database associated with that user. So that will allow us to kick off the manual customer creation process. Okay, now I'm just going to close down the presentation for 1 second, and we're going to go live into the system and just give you a quick example of how this works in a live system environment. So sitting in my CRM home screen, I'm just in my CRM homepage here. There are the telephony icons at the top of the screen for auto lookup caller and show caller. So my default is that my auto lookup caller is pressed and engaged. So I'm now going to simulate a caller calling into the dealership, and we'll see actually what happens as this user receives the phone call. So we now start the simulation. So the customer calls. In the bottom right hand corner, I get the little pop-up that shows me who the customer is and what the number is. And you can see straight away, I have the customer's CRM record fully displayed on screen. His name, address, his contact, his vehicle, and I can see he's actually booked in for a service at this point. So now as I click the answer icon, I'm now talking to the customer, and I have all of the relevant information on the screen about that customer before I answer that telephone call. When I finish talking to the customer, I simply hang up, and that ends the phone call. The phone call then gets saved into the user log, and of course the call recording is accessible through the telephony system. The other example would be to select to show the caller, but while we have the caller record on the screen, if I now am a service advisor needing to call this customer, this is just one example, I could be any user of course in CRM, those are now my alive clicked dials. So that work phone number, for example, doesn't have a record associated with it, so that's not alive. The CRM record could have a protected on this one. If that was the case, I'd have a no entry sign to discourage me from using that number. But if I need to call the customer, let's say on his mobile, I'll just literally click that button, and that is me calling that customer record. Okay, so straight from the CRM record, I'm dialing the customer. So single click, it means I don't miss dial, so I'm accurate, and of course that again improves the customer service. Okay, so there you've seen a quick example of the screen popping, how quick and efficient that screen popping is. What we also see is our click to dial. Click to dial also works from the desktop. So there's the My Whips. So again, if I need to call a customer because they're a no-show, there I am, right click, call the customer. I'm now engaged straight away with that customer. If I need to go from here directly, for example, into point of sale, maybe my customer has a query on the job that's in the workshop. As we load the record, it now drops me into point of sale. So normal point of sale prompts now appear. And of course, there again is my click to dial direct from this time the point of sale screen. Of course, had I been sitting in my whip screen straight away, you've already seen how that would have appeared in point of sale. Okay, so let's just go back and conclude our presentation. Okay, so we've seen from here how we can have these screen pops and the click to dial directly from the applications within Autoline. Some of the surround applications that we have to make the dealership more efficient and improve the customer experience. For example, managing missed calls. So when you arrive back at your desk, any missed calls that you have will be displayed. You can see exactly what's happened to that call, who called, when did they last call, how many times have they tried, has the caller been spoken to since the missed call to you was recorded. You'll be able to see by who and at what time. Okay, so straight away you're improving your customer experience and your customer information with automatic recording through the telephony system. We have full agent logs. So full reporting, inbound calls, outbound calls, who called who, when did the calls take place, how long were the calls, and of course, what was the outcome? Was that call successful? Was it abandoned? Did the customer hang up, etc.? We'll be able to see those from the call log. There is a fully detailed reporting suite available too, both graphical and also the sort of standard two-dimensional calls, so we can see and sort on things like our total talk time, our longest talk, how many calls were abandoned without us speaking to the customer, how many calls went through a requeue. So our caller called into one user but was directed to another one because that department was busy. So this is going to help us identify trends and also training needs that we need for improving the performance within the business. An additional byproduct of this is that we can download details, for example, things like customer listings from Autoline, load them into Excel, and then we can use CAS functionality to actually call direct from the Excel spreadsheet. We could also use click to dial in other applications, such as a website. So we highlight the telephone number, right click, and that will allow us to make that call to that number in the website. Of course, all calls, wherever their sources, are then stored and recorded in the telephony system. So, number of benefits. You've sort of seen now how the system will work in the real world. Very quick and easy, quick and easy for the user to get to grips with this, because it's using the standard functionality that they would be using every day. They're using CRM, they're using point of sale. If you're a sales ledger user, you'll be using sales ledger, same with purchase ledger and purchase order control. So it embeds it into already familiar applications. It's improving the user experience, huge time saving in handling calls, removing errors from outbound dialing, so no misdialing. And of course, it's going to kick off the business process with the appropriate person in the appropriate department. So the customer experience is improved also. Identify who the caller is, give a much more personalised service. We can answer the phone. Hello, Mr. Smith. We can get the reason for the call handled much more quickly and more efficiently. So the customer experience should very much improve. So integrated telephony should cut call handling times, shorten delays, and make sure your customers get a quick callback whenever that's needed. Call results should be improved. Because every call is logged, this is going to help us train staff and spot upsell opportunities. Helping you understand your call activity, not just numbers, but easy to use reportings, shows how your dealership is performing and highlighting any gaps in your call handling process. Missed calls are managed in a much more efficient way. Return missed calls quickly. Make sure you never miss that sales opportunity. Your staff too will have increased efficiency. Team members who are busy with other customers receive callback reminders to call somebody back. These in turn are also monitored. You can review every call if you need to. So no need for mystery shop calls. Since all the calls are recorded, managers can check call handling quality at any time. And of course, great integration with the dealer management system. It plugs into the existing systems that your users will already be familiar with, and enhances that experience. Your customer records are integrated, so you don't need a standalone solution. It integrates directly into what they already know and use on a day-to-day basis. Okay, thank you very much for your time and attention today, for listening to this short presentation on telephony and Autoline integration from CDK Global. For more information, contact your local CDK account manager or visit the CDK website. Thank you for your time.